What's up everybody, and welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken, back today for another recommendation video, 5 Blu-rays that you need to have in your collection. So today I'm going to be spotlighting one of my favorite production companies, and that is A24. So A24 does all the movies that I'm going to be talking about here today as far as producing them, but they are distributed as far as in the physical media form by Lionsgate. So this is going to be a fun video for me because I love doing recommendation videos anyway, but I really love talking about A24 films because they're doing some of the more interesting work in film and cinema today, I think. Every single time a new A24 film is announced, I kind of sit up a little bit straighter. I pay attention to what they're doing because I know that I am at least going to feel some kind of way about the movie that I watch when it's coming from them. And I really just love talking about A24 films. So another thing that I'm going to do in this video after I give my recommendations is I'm going to lump in a little small review of Zola. So I just purchased this a couple of weeks ago. This is a new September release. This is one of the new A24 films that came out in the summer of this year. It's one that I quite enjoyed, so I'm looking forward to talking about it. But before we get into that, guys, I want to ask that if you are not yet a subscriber of the Mid-Level Media channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button for more great content. Also, be sure to like this video, guys. It definitely helps out the video and helps out the channel, and I would greatly appreciate it. And also, comment down below, what are some of your favorite A24 films? What are some of your favorite A24 films that you have in your collection? What of the ones that I cover here today is your favorite? Let me know in that comment section below. Leave me that feedback. I would appreciate it. And also, guys, turn on those bell notifications so you can be updated every single time I drop a new video. Let's go ahead and get into the recommendations, guys. And like always, I'm going to let you all know where you can purchase these, how much they are. I'm going to be leaving Amazon affiliate links in the description below. So if you use those, you will be supporting the channel, and I would definitely appreciate it. So like I said, one of the reasons I love collecting for A24 is, for one, when they come out in their new releases, they're generally pretty cheap. A new Blu-ray from Lionsgate A24 will usually run you in the $15 to $16 to maybe $17 range. And then you'll get them with the slipcovers as well. The first one that I'm going to cover, and a lot of these aren't the ones that everybody talks about all the time. These are more like obscure, under the radar kind of movies. But this first one that I'm going to talk about is probably the most notable of all the ones that I'm going to talk about here today, and that is Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse. So this one, I believe, came out in late 2019. So this is Robert Eggers' follow-up to the critically acclaimed The Witch. And for those of you all that don't know or haven't been following me on the channel a lot, because I bring it up a lot, but The Witch is my favorite horror film of the entire 21st century. It's the movie that creeps me out the most, that scares me the most. Just puts me in like a certain mood every single time I watch it. I just think it has some of the most brilliant writing and performances, and just the way that Robert Eggers just transports you back into that like Puritan era of 1600s North America. I just think is astounding just how he's able to do that, and just the research that goes into doing that is incredible. And like I said, it's a scary movie, and I like movies that scare me. So my expectations going into watching this movie were pretty high. They were pretty high, and to be honest, I don't think I gave this movie a fair chance when I first saw it in theaters, because it just wasn't what I expected it to be. It's a very different kind of movie than The Witch. In a lot of ways, it's kind of the same. You still get that like time and place, period setting sense. Like Robert Eggers obviously did his research with this time period that this is set in. You know, William Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, who we're going to be talking about another Robert Pattinson here in a second, they're both awesome in this movie. They both have to rely on each other. They're the two like main leads and performances in this film. It's really mainly just them isolated, like in this lighthouse. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. It's not what I would call like pure horror. Like there's some horror elements in it here and there, but it's really more on the lines of like fantasy. And when you get closer to the end, a little bit of sci-fi is injected in there as well. So it's a different kind of movie than The Witch. It's not The Witch. So when I walked out of this movie, I was like, oh, God, that was very different than what I was expecting. And I wasn't sure if I really liked it. I appreciated it for certain things, but other things I didn't. So I rewatched this again on Blu-ray. I liked it a little bit more knowing what it was. But still, there's parts of this movie that don't like necessarily click with me. Why I'm recommending this film is just for the pure artistic value that it brings. Like I said, it's just such a well-shot movie. The performances are fantastic. And if you want to see Willem Dafoe walk around and fart for the first 30 minutes of a movie, this is your movie right here, guys. So it does have that comedic sensibility to it. as well. So yeah, it's the sound design in this movie is incredible, like the foghorn that comes blaring over. And this is probably of all the ones that I'm discussing right here, it's like one of the best looking Blu-rays that I've seen come out from A24 and Lionsgate. It looks fantastic. So as far as like the transfer, but yeah, it's a good movie. I do enjoy this film for what it is, but my expectations were just so high. It's not like top tier for me, but I know a lot of people that love this movie, talk about this movie all the time, so you may enjoy it more than I do. But right now you can get the Lighthouse, guys, on Amazon.com for $9.43. So do recommend picking this up for that price point. That's a great price point, $9.43 for that Blu-ray. So let's go ahead and get into the next recommendation, guys, and that is a film that you may have never heard of, and it's called Waves. I don't feel like a lot of people were talking about this movie. It didn't even get any Oscar recognition. This one also came out, I think, at the tail end of 2019. It didn't get Oscar recognition. It absolutely should have. I mean, you've got Sterling K. Brown in this movie. His performance is so powerful and emotional, like some of the scenes that he has to do and emotions he has to pull off in his performance in this movie. Absolutely astounding. It just takes your breath away. Like, this movie is incredible, just the way it's shot. This is directed by Trey Edward Schultz, who also did a film called It Comes at Night, which is another A24 film. One that a lot of people were expecting kind of like a zombie horror movie, and they got their expectations subverted in that one as well. Even though I do like It Comes at Night, but it is not really what it's advertised, what it advertised itself to be. So this is a different kind of movie. It's no genre movie at all. This is just straight drama, but it's a very emotional story about this family. And then you have this son and his relationship with his girlfriend, and that kind of goes sour and it goes in some bad directions. He kind of squanders his future, and there's some things that happen. This movie is also pretty different than a lot. The way it kind of tells its story just narratively has a different like narrative flow and structure than most movies you're used to seeing. It kind of changes perspectives throughout the film, and by the time you get to the end, you're following different characters than you were in the beginning, and you're kind of seeing different angles of this family and their perspective and just how they interact with each other and just what they mean to each other throughout the film. But it's a powerful film. It's an emotional film. It's a little bit of a tearjerker. I think the performances are excellent. You also have Kelvin Harrison Jr. in this movie. Lucas Hedges is in this movie, which he's in a lot of A24 films. But Kelvin Harrison Jr. gives an excellent performance in this. Everybody in this movie is just operating on like the highest level. So I think this movie's fantastic. I think it's super underrated. I think it should have been nominated for Best Picture the year that it came out. So highly recommend Waves, picking it up. You can get Waves right now, guys, on Amazon for $12.96. So a little bit more pricier than the Lighthouse, but absolutely worth it in my opinion. So the next one that I'm going to go over with you guys and recommend is 8th Grade. 8th Grade is a film directed by Bo Burnham, and I know he's getting quite a bit of praise right now for that Netflix thing that he did. I didn't watch it. Is it like called Inside or something? Bo Burnham. I don't even remember what it's called, but it's like him in a room quarantined doing comedy and sketches or something like that. I haven't seen it yet, but I know he's getting a lot of praise for that. This is a great movie. This is his directorial debut. You got Elsie Fisher in here. It's really a coming-of-age story, but it's told in such a way that it just feels so real. Like, it just feels so real. And I don't think a lot of girls of this age really get their story told in the way that they managed to pull off with this story with Elsie Fisher and her coming of age into 8th grade. Because you don't really get that time period. You get a lot of high school coming of age films. You don't really get that time period in like the 7th and 8th grade, which I would say is probably the hardest time because you are really just coming into your own as a person, emotionally, physically, like hormonally. There's just a lot of things that happen. It's a very awkward time to be a human at that part in your life. And the way that they show this, it just portrays it with such realism. It feels like you're there. And even though I'm not a female, I'm not a girl, I could just feel and relate to some of the moments and some of the experiences that she has to go through in this film. And yeah, I just think it's a very well done movie, just how it kind of puts you in the shoes of Elsie Fisher. And she's so great in this movie, just as far as her performance. She plays that kind of awkward teenage girl role so incredibly well. So yeah, I think that this is one of the best movies that's come out in the past few years. I think it's one of the best coming of age movies, one of the best A24 movies. This is one, again, not a ton of people talk about this movie. The people that know film talk about this movie, but it doesn't really get that mainstream hype level like a Lady Bird did from a few years ago, because it got nominated for Best Picture and everything like that, which that's a good movie. I would argue this is a better movie, and it should have got more recognition than Lady Bird, to be honest. But this one came out in 2018, so this one's a little bit more difficult to track down on Amazon. You can get the Region B Blu-ray for $14.24. You can get a DVD for $5 on Amazon. But if you want to get this on Blu-ray for a little bit cheaper, it is on Walmart's website right now for $7.85. It's also on Best Buy's website for $9.99. So you can look on both of those websites. Target, it's actually sold out, but you'll have to do a little bit more digging to find 8th Grade, but it's totally worth it. This is a great movie if you haven't seen it. So the next one I'm going to recommend, guys, is another Robert Pattinson movie. This is the one that if you have any doubt in your mind that Robert Pattinson is not going to make a fantastic and maybe quite possibly one of the best Batman that we've ever had, watch the movie Good Time. The performance that he is able to bring out, just the darker edge and the tone and the vibes that he's able to invoke within his performance, is that of a Bruce Wayne, Dark Knight, Batman type character. Again, he's not Batman. He's not fighting crime or anything like that, but just you can totally see it when you watch this movie, just the way that he performs and just kind of evokes certain emotions. And this movie's fantastic. If you have not seen this movie, this is from the same directors, the Safdie brothers, who did Uncut Gems. So that's definitely the more notable film of their filmography, but Good Time, I would argue, is just as good. It's just not as flashy and over the top as an Uncut Gems is. But this is very well directed. Robert Pattinson is excellent in this movie. It's also got Jennifer Jason Leigh, who's like one of the best actresses of all time from like the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. So great cast. You also have one of the Safdie brothers is in this, and it plays his brother. So he's basically trying to get his brother, who has some sort of disability, out of jail because he got locked up for the night. And he's kind of meeting all these obstacles and stuff throughout the night and just getting involved in like drug wars and stuff like that. And drug deals gone wrong and all that stuff. He's getting caught in the middle. And it's a fast-paced, frantic movie that just never slows down. Just like Uncut Gems, it's just very anxiety-ridden, and you just feel the tension throughout. So it's a very exciting movie. It's kind of like I would say kind of like a crime thriller slash drama. There's drama in there as well. But yeah, Good Time is excellent. If you haven't seen Good Time, check out Good Time. This is one that I was like super excited I got the slipcover for, because I didn't buy this one day one. And yeah, I got the slipcover. So yeah, Good Time is excellent. You can get Good Time right now, guys, for $15.70 on Amazon, so it's a little bit more pricier than the other ones that I'm discussing. But again, totally worth it. It's a great film. The next one I'm going to talk about is one that I feel like is a little bit more divisive of all the other ones that I've talked about. You either like this movie a lot, love it, or you don't like it at all, and that is A Ghost Story. This is a movie starring Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara, and honestly, when I watched this movie, I'd say an hour into it, I was not sure what the hell I was watching. I wasn't sure if I liked this movie at all, if it was just a complete piece of shit or not. There's a scene in this movie where Rooney Mara eats a pie for like 10 minutes. They just had the camera on her and they show the entire process of her eating this pie. Of course, it's a part of her grief, because the story of this movie is Casey Affleck dies in a car wreck very early on. And then he comes back as a ghost to kind of haunt her, but it's not in the way, it's not in like the traditional like haunting kind of way. She doesn't like see him or anything throughout the movie. He's just kind of like there as she's moving through her life. And the way they portray him as this ghost is not like the traditional way. As you can see right here on the cover, he's just wearing a sheet. It's kind of like, you know, it reminds me of Beetlejuice, honestly, when they're in the hallway and they're wearing the sheets and Lydia's taking the pictures and everything. But it's portrayed like that, but it's told in such a straight way. It's not meant to be goofy or taken goofy at all. It's just the way that they're showing these ghosts, kind of like the symbolic way that they're showing like ghosts in this world. So yeah, it's not like he's not like haunting her. He's not like whispering in her ear or anything like that. She can't see him, but it's him. He's dead, Casey Affleck, under this sheet. So you don't really see Casey Affleck throughout the entire film. And she's just kind of going through and living her life, and he's watching her live her life and go through the grief of his death and then going on and trying to move on and go through other relationships and stuff like that. It's an interesting movie throughout, but it's a very slow-paced film, so I completely get it if it's not your cup of tea. But when you get to the ending is so rewarding to me. Like the last 15 to 20 minutes just goes in a very, very cool direction is all I'll say. Like I don't want to spoil what happens in those last 15 minutes, but it's very kind of a little bit of sci-fi, but very just kind of spiritual and hypnotic. And it just, when you see it, it kind of blows your mind the way they pull off and the way that they tie this entire narrative together. I just love the ending, and the ending just kind of, it's one of those endings that just recontextualizes the entire movie for me. And then when I went back and watched it again, I thought this movie was like borderline a masterpiece. So I absolutely love A Ghost Story. This is directed by David Bluray, who also directed the new Green Knight that just came out, A24. So he has worked with A24 before. He also did Pete's Dragon, the live-action Disney movie that came out, I think, back in 2016 or 2017. So yeah, a very accomplished director. I still have not seen Green Knight. I'm waiting for the physical media release to see it. But yeah, Ghost Story, I would recommend. But go into it knowing that it's a little bit more abstract and unconventional in just the way that it tells this narrative and story. This is not a horror movie at all. It's not even what I would say is a genre movie at its core. There are genre elements, but it's really just a hardcore drama, emotional experience, and kind of a character study of just how someone deals with grief, you know, throughout their life. So A Ghost Story, absolutely recommend it. You can get it on Amazon right now for $10, $9.99. So recommend picking this one up for sure. So the next one that I'm going to get into, guys, is Zola. So I watched Zola again last night in preparation for this video. This movie is my top 3 movie of the year for me. It's like this one, The Suicide Squad, and Malignant. These are like my top 3 movies of the year. This is a very different kind of movie, but I think it's a fantastic movie. This is directed by Janisa Bravo. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but that is a female black director. And I don't feel like I'm hearing a lot of people talk about her. You hear a lot of people talk about Nia DaCosta and Candyman and whatever, but Zola absolutely needs to be recognized, especially for its direction. It has such a style and a voice to it. And it's just, it's very hard to describe this movie. It's almost, I would say, the closest genre that I can pin on this one is comedy, because throughout this movie, I'm gonna say right now, might be the best comedy of the year. Throughout this movie, I am laughing my ass off. Riley Keough, this is her best performance she's ever done. She's done some really good performances. This is hands down her best to me. She is so good. The way she talks and projects her voice and just the tone, it's so good. She's so fantastic in this role. And then you got Taylor Page in here as well as Zola, the title character. This is based on a Twitter thread. This is based on a Twitter thread, and the actual Zola, the real life Zola, is a producer on the film as well, and actually assisted Janisa in the filming process. So I think that that's really cool as well, and really added to the authenticity of this film. Based on a Twitter thread, these 2 strippers, dancers, you know, they meet up and then they head down to Florida. One of them knows what they're going down there for. One of them does not. And then they get down there and they're kind of surprised by the twists and turns that come after. So it's a comedy, but it's also turns a little bit into like a crime thriller type movie. So it's just an interesting movie, and it has such a style to it, the way that this is directed. The way that it transitions from scene to scene, the score in this movie, just the kind of dreamlike harps that are playing throughout, just kind of transports you and draws you into the more dreamlike aspects of this film, like what's real, what's not real. You have moments where it's being told from different perspectives, the same story, and it's being told differently. So in a way, you don't know like really what's real, although like there's certain characters that you trust more than others. But it's just such a well done movie, and this is super underrated. This is one I came out of the theater, and after watching, I was like, I don't know what the hell to think about that. And that's what I love about A24. They do that kind of stuff constantly. So I love A24 for doing that. So this is a really excellent Blu-ray release. I got it at Best Buy for, I think, $15.99. You can get this at Target right now for $16.99. So it's about the same price. On Amazon, though, it is going for $17.59. So a little bit more pricier. But I do recommend grabbing this right now because you get this slipcover with it. And this is a great slipcover. I love the colors and just the way that this slipcover looks. It's got a little bit of embossing right there on the Zola, so that's cool. I'll kind of show it. I'm not going to do a full unboxing, but I'll show you all a little bit of what's inside. So right there, guys, you have the Blu-ray disc, and then you have that right there, and you get some special features on this. So I like that, you know, A24 usually will do at least one special feature behind the scenes and stuff like that, and then they'll do some deleted scenes as well. So the one right here, y'all want to hear a story making Zola. This is a very interesting documentary that really just plays up just how much of a genius that Janissa Bravo is. Like, everybody just singing her praises as a director. And yeah, it's just it's a really good documentary starring, like, really just taking you through the process of how they went about getting this Twitter thread and turning it into a film, in the process of, like, you know, is it an IP? Like, how do you license it and stuff like that? A Twitter thread, because it's very kind of clear cut how you license like a book and make that into an adaptation or a movie. But making a Twitter thread into a movie had never really been done before. So it was kind of uncharted territory, and it kind of takes you through that process. So really interesting behind the scenes. And it has some deleted scenes which I could tell why they were deleted. They weren't that good, but there's a good one with Riley Keough and her going up to different girls and basically describing their breasts and what they look like, which is what she does to Taylor Page in the movie. But and that's really super funny. But this is a really good movie. It's an underrated movie. Like I said, Taylor Page is fantastic. Riley Keough is fantastic. They do very different performances. One's very more like toned down, more down to earth and more realistic. Riley Keough is just completely out there, just ridiculous in everything she does and says in her performance. She's absolutely fantastic. So definitely the more animated of the two throughout the film. And you also got Nicholas Braun, who's in the show Succession. He's really great as this kind of buffoon character. And Coleman Domingo, who's the pimp in this film, he is fantastic also. Like, everybody in this movie is super great. I cannot recommend Zola enough. It is a high recommendation for me, guys. So definitely pick this one up because it should still be in your stores right now. So with that, guys, that does it for my 5 Blu-rays that you need to have in your collection, plus my review of A24 Lionsgate's newest release of Zola. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please, down in the comment section below, let me know which one of all these movies that I covered here today are some of your favorites. What are some A24 films that you love that I left out? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, be sure to like this video, guys, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Turn on all those bell notifications for future videos and follow all of my socials. The links are in the description, and we'll see you next time.